Welcome back to JUCO Jam. This is season 2, episode 15, the one with the predictions. With me, as always, Brandon Goble. We made it. We're finally here. This is the national tournament preview.
We're here. We're here. 6 days from now, we're going to be in Hutchinson, Kansas. We're going to be, I don't know, snacking on some chips and queso, talking about all of the chaos that's about to ensue.
And this is the one with all the numbers because I got 25 pages of data starting right here with the Allegheny Trojans.
Ooh.
But before we begin, Brandon, I want to take a little historical trip. This is like History 101. So I want to talk about the modern era of junior college basketball, which I would just say is once we transition to the current 2014 format. I saw an amazing Twitter post last night. 5 teams have won the national tournament that had a bye, and 5 teams have won the national tournament without a bye. This year will be the tiebreaker. So you think it's a huge advantage to have a bye, but historically it has not worked that way. And I know that we both think that sometimes danger lurks when you have the bye because the other team has already played on that floor.
Yeah, and this change of schedule is going to be a little bit interesting because there's not as much of a gap now, right?
Well, we have the Friday day off, which is going to really benefit, I think, the national championship game.
Yeah.
But it's an intense Sunday through Thursday.
Yeah. I guess the gap is still the same, right? We start because we usually would start on Monday, but Wednesday would be the latest that you would play. I guess that there's only a 1 day gap at most.
Correct.
Instead of 2. So I think that's where, talking to coaches in the past that unfortunately didn't survive as a top seed, that Wednesday game, they'll tell you like, hey, it's tough to show up and then
watch.
Right. And hang out because they got to get out there and see the team that they're going to be playing against and start scouting and whatever. But keeping kids' heads screwed on straight for 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever it is that you're out there in Hutchinson.
It's not an easy ask.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered that I'll give you the number. There's been 230 games played on the sports arena over the last 10 years. Have you ever considered that there is a JUCO Power 5? Let me run these numbers down for you. Okay. So Florida,
yep.
Region 24, which is Vincennes plus Illinois, Kansas, Western Texas, so Region 5, not 14, no disrespect, and then Utah, Idaho, I think CSI, Salt Lake. They have combined for a 146-93 record. They have a 623 winning percentage, and they have brought home 9 of the 10 national titles.
Yeah, I would say that if you were to ask anybody that spends a significant amount of time watching junior college basketball like us, yeah, I mean that's kind of your Power 5. And again, yeah, it's no disrespect to 14. It's or any of the other regions. Look, don't contact Nick.
I'm just giving numbers.
Just giving numbers.
I don't know what they mean. They're just numbers. But everyone else, 84 and 137.
Yeah.
That's a 380 winning percentage.
And you got a couple teams that are, outlier like the Gonzagas of JUCO, that kind of fit into success and all that sort of thing. But as far as like holistic conferences and districts, yeah. I mean, that's kind of your power. Your P5.
So I just think that's interesting because I think the theme of this tournament, the thing that we're going to be talking about a week from now, is 2 of these powers are going to collide often in this tournament. We are going to have what I believe is potentially 3 Florida-Kansas matchups.
Yeah.
I think that, and it's going to happen in the round of 16. I think that's going to be the story of the tournament.
Yeah, you're kind of getting Duke, Kentucky early. In some cases.
Exactly.
No.
I want to mentally transition, if we shall, to the top 8 seeds in the tournament.
Yep.
Um, Barton, South Plains, Salt Lake, Vincennes, Indian Hills, Chipola, Triton, Northwest Florida. Do you have any issue with those top 8 seeds? Were those the top 8 seeds that you had in your head?
No, I think um I might have had one change in there maybe, but it's like you
Like
could
Cali, Northwest, maybe flop type of
yeah,
thing?
you could convince me though that the top eight, like I wouldn't say no, dang it, and here's why. Like it's,
Right. No, those 8 made sense to me. Now, let's go through the at-large teams real quick. The at-large, you know, there's always going to be teams that are upset. There's always going to be great teams that are left out. I know that we're both fans of a 32 team tournament just to get more of the great teams into this amazing tournament and get rid of the buys, put everybody on an equal playing field. But that's not how we're doing it this year. So there's 8 at-larges, and there's always going to be teams that are left out. Um, the at-large teams: Northwest Florida, Cali, Hutch, Lee, Odessa, Moberly, Panola, and Daytona. I don't think that either of us would argue that those are 8 really good basketball teams, all capable of winning multiple games in the national tournament. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
And
And
then,
that's where, you know, there's the argument for three or four other teams that, maybe felt slighted. And you can make a very valid argument for any of them, and you can make a very valid argument for why somebody that did get in maybe shouldn't have, and all those things, like they're all valid arguments. That's
right,
not, there's not a situation where you go, well, this just doesn't make any sense, you know.
you can do the transitive property enough that you get to the point where I'm coach of the year. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you can do that in perpetuity. So I thought it would be nice just to give like some really nice final I don't know if just say some nice words about some of the great teams that didn't make it just because everybody can't go. So I'm just rattling some of these off the top of my head. I thought Eastern Arizona had a great year. North Dakota State College of Science, NEO, Clarendon, Eastern Florida, Mineral Area. I mean, they all had great seasons, all worthy of being in the national tournament. Uh,
Clarendon. Did you say Clarendon?
I may or may not have, but you know, we love
Nobody knows.
Hunter. We love
Nobody
Hunter.
knows.
We love Hunter.
Clarendon, and any of those teams, if you were to put them into the tournament, whoever they're playing in the first round would go, ooh,
Yeah, and
dang it.
they would represent their school, their community, their conferences, their regions
Yep.
very well. So I believe that the committee put in 8 really, really good teams into the national tournament, and there's just not enough spot for all the good teams. But I
And the
felt
committee
got 8
definitely
teams.
made a statement that, they said they were going to make, so it's not like, this was probably out of the blue, that Division One NJCAA wins has a huge impact on whether somebody gets in or not. And that's going to be the case going forward. I believe, going to make it even more of an emphasis going forward. And so, unfortunately for like a team like North Dakota Sciences, like it's really hard. It just is. Um they have a lot of non-division one wins because they can't get to places
Right.
to play. So it's
And there's junior colleges that they're playing on their schedule. It's not all preps and JVs, but some of those schools are Division two, similar to a Region
right.
one situation in Arizona. You know, it's almost it feels like they would be better if they all went Division one or all went Division two and had some sort of
Going to be an
stricter
adjustment for
numbers.
next year for Region One, where they're expanding the Division One, and they're going to play three times, and so it's going to allow for a lot more of those wins. So I mean, credit to the Region One, they said, okay, well, this is the thing, we have to adapt for this, but this is where a 32 team tournament would be great because, then I say, yeah, region, the North Dakota State region, like you guys get an automatic qualifier for winning the thing because there are some great teams up there. There's some great kids. I would love to see
Right.
that, a team representing them in the national tournament every year. Um, it's tough when it's every other year you're fighting Southeastern or Indian Hills, and having to do that just to get through.
And one final thing I'll say real quickly, shout out to Eastern Arizona. Lee Patterson and the school did a fantastic job on the live stream. I swear that live stream was in 4K. That was like the most crisp video that I've seen all season long.
They don't
So
mess around in Thatcher, man.
no, I think they're going to create a monster, a Gila monster, if you will, going forward, where we will start to see them in the national tournament every year. All right, when we come back, we are going to have USC Salkehatchie head coach Matt Lynch with us. Stay tuned for more JUCO Jam.
As the second largest intercollegiate athletic association in the country, the NJCAA serves not only a pivotal role in college athletics, but in higher education. The NJCAA Foundation aims to move the association forward through resources, grant programs, and other special initiatives. Your gift to the NJCAA Foundation will make a difference and create opportunities.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Welcome back to JUCO Jam. With me is first-year head coach Matt Lynch from USC Salkehatchie, a Cinderella story if there ever was one. Coach Lynch, thanks for joining JUCO Jam, and welcome to the national tournament.
Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
So you have one of the, the coolest stories in the country. A job that's been lovingly referred to as the worst job in college basketball. It was, Salkehatchie, shut down the program. Well, there's 4 coaches in 1 year. Then you step in, there's no roster. And here you go. You bring together a group of all freshmen except one. You upset. I wouldn't call it an upset. You beat them twice in 2 weeks. You beat Caldwell Tech, who's been nationally ranked, twice in 14 days. And here you are at the national tournament. Talk a little bit about this amazing journey for yourself and your team at Salkehatchie.
Well, I think you hit the nail right on the head. We're fired up to be here. We're in the process of figuring out how to get to Kansas. That's the next part of this journey.
You go west, coach. You go.
There you go. I appreciate it. Yeah, but we'll figure that part out as we're going. But I'm really, really lucky. We've got a really, really great team that is just high character guys. And so many of these guys have such unique stories that when we all got to campus in August, the coolest thing that happened was the culture. And that I don't like that buzzword at all, because I love the little interview YouTube spiels that go when around this time of year coaches get hired. The first word is culture, 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 culture. But whatever, our culture, it just happened. Like, these guys just got along. It was so cool to watch them compete, play pickup, get after each other, and then walk out of the gym and be so close. And from there, we took it on the chin early. I had no idea what I was doing, so I was going down to playing this JUCO Jamboree or that JUCO Jamboree. We went 0-8 in October, and they're looking around at me like, Coach, are we going to win a single game all year? And I'm like, guys, relax. Like, there's a lot. This thing is a journey. Like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And started off great at home, 11-0 at home and 0-8 on the road. We couldn't buy a win on the road, and finally got that part figured out. Then I'm pretty sure we started to lead the nation in turnovers, and then we got that figured out. And then, we started a little bit of a slide there. But the coolest thing about coaching the younger guys is, like, in a lot of ways, they're fearless. Like, you start talking about a nationally ranked Caldwell Tech team. They never been to Caldwell Tech. Most of my guys half my team is internationals. Like, they can't point to where what state Caldwell Tech is in. And so you just keep them, keep the main thing with them. And I'm really lucky because every coach dreams about playing their best basketball in March, and we're definitely doing that. And so I'm fired up to get to Kansas.
So there, for people who may not be intimately familiar with the national tournament, there are 24 teams seeded 1 through 24, and somehow you managed to get a seed worse than 24. You get to play Hutchinson at the home court in the sports arena. I mean, this is the ultimate David versus Goliath story. So I'll give you a little, I want to give you a nugget because I'm a numbers guy.
Okay.
I looked up where the big upsets have historically happened in the national tournament over the past decade. I got deep in the numbers for you.
Yeah, let's go. Talk to me now.
The upsets have almost always happened where teams have had a +10 or greater rebound margin statistically for the season. Those are the teams that have pulled the upset. Just so happen, I pull up my USC Salkehatchie fact sheet. You guys are +12 on the season in rebounding. You got a lot of big kids. You got what? 5 kids over 6'8".
That's correct. Yeah.
2 hands, fellas.
Yep.
2 hands.
Hey, we're fired up about it. 22 versus 11. Like, what is that? I mean, that's half, 50%. And I got to be honest, 50%, those are the best odds I've had all year. Like, let's go get it done.
When you can rebound, you always have a chance, right? On the season, you've held teams to 42% from the field, so pretty good defensively. Teams have only connected on 33% on three-pointers. I don't know. This is the ultimate David versus Goliath story. What are you going to do if you win out there the first night, Monday night? What do we got? No, Monday afternoon. If you beat Hutch, how do you celebrate that? What are you doing?
We know the answer.
So we like to speak things into existence. So now what are you going to do? Like, if we don't do when, all right, yes. When you beat Hutch, like when you beat Hutch, but we got to go play 2 games. All right. Part of we make the joke all the time, 13 freshmen and whatever JB is, because I think that JB might be able to get that first year. There's a lot going on. We'll get to that later. I think he could get that year back and be 14 freshmen. But the first game we have to go play is all about the emotions of the environment, because we're going to walk in there and it's going to be the most electric environment that any of these young men have ever played in. And what else are you signing up for? What else would you want? I don't want there's a bunch of coaches but no fans. Like, we're going to get the right environment. And like, yeah, when we get this done, the next morning, every news outlet in the entire country will be talking about little USC Salkehatchie from Walterboro, South Carolina, which is all we want to do. We're 20-13. We're trying to get to 21-13. And then after that, we're going to try and get to 22-13 against Chipola, 1 game at a time, 1 possession at a time, 1 minute at a time.
You got a long bus ride ahead of you. Probably these kids have never seen these movies that I'm about to suggest for you, but you need to kill some time. I think you go with Hoosiers, and then I think you go Rocky IV, because I think this is a very Rocky Balboa going into Russia to fight Drago type of environment. So you just play those 2 movies for the kids, get them in the right mindset, heading to the sports arena.
Yep, that's the plan.
Brandon, I know you have an important question.
Coach, I always get to ask the most important question here to wrap things up, to really put the pressure on you. So when you win that first round game, obviously the restaurant of choice to celebrate the team meal at is Chili's, because of course it is. What are you ordering at Chili's when you go there for your victory meal?
An adult beverage that is cold.
Good. That's a great start. That's a great start. What are we eating though? What are we going with, the triple dipper? Are we going with the riblet?
Whatever is brought to the table, I'll be good. I mean, I'll be good. Yeah. I'll be fired up with whatever it is.
All right. Well, Coach, we really appreciate you coming on. We're super happy for you, super excited. Good luck pointing the bus west and
Yep.
and heading that way.
Maybe the best uniforms in the tournament. If we
Ooh,
rated
yeah.
uniforms, if we seeded uniforms, Salkehatchie's got some great unis.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. We
Yeah,
appreciate that.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, good luck, coach. And when we come back, Nick and I are going to dive into all things national tournament.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Coach. Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Welcome back to JUCO Jam. This is the moment that I have been personally waiting for an entire year. This is my favorite segment of the entire season. It's here. It's game one. It's Daytona State, Walters State, the 16-17. Amazing matchup. Daytona, the last at-large team to get in. Offensive firepower galore. A Walters State team that I believe is 31-2 that just keeps winning. And the winner gets Coach Jeremy Combs and Barton, the #1 rated team in the country. Give me your thoughts, Daytona, Walters State. I know that you want it Yosway.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want a Yosway? But
Give the people what they want, Brandon.
you know, and this is you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and put the disclaimer out here right now. We're going to talk about teams. We're going to talk about who we think wins or whatever. If you have a complaint about who we like or we don't like, you can contact Nick Nielsen. The Nielsen file.
Send that to Alexa at NJCAA.org.
Don't reach out to me. Now, this being said, I think Daytona State will win this game. And I texted Coach Coombs after everything was announced.
He can't be happy about this.
He was fine. He was like, you know what?
He's fine. He's the nicest guy on earth.
He gave the most coach cliche BS answer of all time. It was like, wow, we're prepared for anybody. And I was like, you just got a little bit of seeding nonsense. Because Daytona, if you said Daytona wins the national championship as a 16 seed, like that wouldn't shake the foundation of, this isn't.
They've been a top 5 rated team for the majority of the season, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
this is not the Florida Atlantic makes a run to the Final Four. Like, Daytona is loaded. They have one of the best players in the country. Joey Cantons does an unbelievable job there. He's been a Division I coach. He knows what he's doing.
I love Kylan Green. I love Huskar Cuevas. I mean, he's just an absolute little defensive mighty mouse.
Yeah.
All right, we're just gonna say it. We got a JUCO Jam unanimous selection. We're both putting the stamp of approval on Daytona. We want to see a Florida-Kansas matchup here. Coach Jerry Nichols done an amazing job at Walters State. Once again, somebody else picking against him, he's going to probably pull the upset.
Yeah, he'll make us look stupid. It's fine. I'm welcome.
We're just having fun. We're just having fun.
At 2:20 Central Time on Monday, you could have Barton Daytona just throwing haymakers at each other. Like,
that's a beautiful thing, and that's a great time. We'll just be coming off lunch. We'll be ready to go.
Jay Jones versus Josue Grion. Like, come on. What are we talking about?
And we got 2 lefties. I know Coach Combs loves his lefties, right? That would be a Miles Thompson versus is it Andrew Panov, number 33 on Daytona, lefty. I have that information here because I have my cheat sheets in alphabetical order. That's Victor Panov from St. Petersburg, Russia, 6'7", 225. He's averaging 13 and 6. Looking forward to that. All right, let's transition to game 2.
Yeah, I was
Cali.
gonna say, like, you want to just fire it up again? Like, we're gonna go back to backers here for whoa.
Yeah. So Cali, Allegheny. Allegheny, a few years ago, they switched their color scheme. I'm still struggling to get used to it. They had that really vibrant Christmas green, forest green and red, kind of what I came to know the Trojans at Bob Kirk Arena for. They've switched that out. They kind of got a lime,
the Seahawks.
blue and lime thing going.
Yep.
And here they get Cali, Jeff Nwankwo, a tough matchup for Coach Tommy Reams's team. Tyson, you have to help me with the last name. Allegheny, 6'6" from Sweden, 21 and 6 a game, 3-point sniper. That's a great kind of small forward matchup that we're going to see there.
Yeah, I mean, right out of the gate, one of the things that people are going to want to see out of Jeff is his defense. And where is he able to switch and get out on the perimeter and guard and all that sort of thing. So he's going to be tasked with that right away. I do think chalk holds here. I think Cali wins the game.
And what does this set up? It sets up another Florida Kansas round 2 matchup. Winner gets Northwest Florida. And I know Coach DeMeo would also give some sort of cliche answer, coach speak, but he's thinking, wait a second. we potentially get Cali, a Kansas team in round 1.
Now I can tell you, Coach DeMeo for sure prefers this setup to being somebody that has to wait a couple days. Now you just got to wait the one. But there's going to be a lot of coaches that maybe don't come in on Sunday and are going to be there Monday to watch this, and they're going to potentially be treated to a couple of what could be the best games in the entire tournament to start off the Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. Game 3, I think, is a doozy. It's the Panola Ponies versus Jones. Jones, this is a 15-18 game. Jones has, I think, their top 5 scorers are all freshmen. Panola, Jonah Hinton, Yafet Mundi. I mean, this is a heavyweight matchup. I think Jones is a little bit of an underrated team. Panola really surging down the stretch. Trinity Valley nipped them in the semis. I believe it was 72-70. But Ponies playing good basketball, obviously losing assistant coach Tad Andrews, during the season. So, it's a heartfelt story. They're playing for something. Amazing round 1 matchup here. Game 3, Sunday, 2:30 Central.
Yeah, Region 14 kind of top heavy this year, but like top heavy in a very good way. I mean, that Trinity Valley, Panola, Lee, like all 3 of those teams, very, very, very good. So, again, Jones is going to be a bunch of fighters, though. I mean, this one's probably going to be a bit more of a rock fight. So,
I'm going to give you a little nugget on Jones. Nick checks fact sheet. Insert chance for Zach to edit. 41% from 3 on the season, Brandon. You better get out and put a hand up, because 41% is no joke.
We're gonna be doing a lot of foot chop drills leading up to this one, I think.
Absolutely. Game 4, Trinity Valley and Georgia Highlands. Trinity Valley probably helped themselves more so than any team as far as seeding goes throughout, district play.
Yeah.
They had a really tough loss towards the end of the season to Panola. I think it was 102-71. In Trinity Valley, they just got really hot after that. And they really, I think, peaked at the right time. Good matchup for them. I think they'll get by Georgia Highlands. Do you give this a JUCO Jam double stamp of approval on Trinity Valley over Georgia Highlands?
I do. Georgia Highlands, definitely a name people know and recognize, has had a lot of success in the tournament in the past. Georgia just kind of down this year a little bit, as a conference, but the interesting thing about Trinity Valley, you're right, getting hot at the right time, and they did a great job kind of like gathering themselves to make this run. But big question, which Trinity Valley shows up at this tournament? Because they definitely had some moments where, you say, hey, if Georgia Highlands is gonna reach up and pop someone, the Trinity Valley that had struggles earlier on is someone they can definitely beat. So
Now,
Trinity's just got to hold it all together there.
I know you're a recruiting guy, and I was kind of like scouring for names of guys that I think could pop during the tournament. And so I came up with Devin Franklin, 6'8", 215. He's a sophomore. He started all 33 games. He's averaging 8.2 points, 7.7 rebounds. I mean, who doesn't like a versatile 6'8" wing?
Yeah, that's the kind of kid that could come out of this tournament with 5, 6, 7, offers in that kind of OVC, Southland, whatever. Just he starts making, getting some things done, and the length and the
I think
size.
people will start checking their notes. Whoa, who is this guy? 6'8", moves really well, can score, can rebound,
Yep.
versatility.
These schools that have a hard time getting into this, portal craziness and NIL and all that sort of thing, that are going to be sitting there and point at him and say, that's the kind of kid that maybe we take, and he's really good for us. And then someone else might steal him the next year. Right. I mean, that's what it is now.
He's a plug and play guy. You don't have to really worry about him. I think he comes in, he fits right away. You play him. Game 5, I think this is the only rematch game that I found during the course of the season. Odessa, Trinidad. Trinidad actually beat Odessa earlier in the year. Initially, I thought this is a clear upset pick, Trinidad over Odessa. I love Trinidad team. I love Coach Fulda. It's going to be really hard to get bucket twice.
It is. I think, that first one, it's definitely two very different styles of play.
Yes.
And so, it can be tough if you're trying to slow the game down and you're trying to really lock up defensively, if someone's just making shots and gets out and runs and things like that. Doing that twice, though, like you said, especially for a coach as adept as Bucket is at making adjustments, that's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. But I mean, Trinidad State's gone down to the wire the last 2 years. Didn't quite get it done, so maybe three.
I thought for sure they were going to get it done against Tallahassee.
Oh man.
And then DeJour Reeves, one of our all-time favorite JUCO players, and this year his brother Amir on the team.
Yeah, should be a good.
It should be a really nice game. Winner gets Vincennes. Game 6, Sunday night nightcap, no nap Sunday. Lee, the 12 seed versus 21 Wallace State. Another one of those kids who I think is going to blow up in this tournament, that people are going to be checking notes. Who is this guy? Wallace State, number 3, Jimmy Williams, 6'5", redshirt freshman from Cleveland. 23 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists a game, shooting 39% from 3, 77% from the free throw line. He's going to check a lot of boxes.
Yeah, his recruitment's really blown up recently here. Things have started moving for him. It's going to be interesting with Lee because they're very defensively minded, but they also are very young. That some of their best players are freshmen.
Right.
And so this environment is going to be very different for them. It's obviously going to be very different for Wallace State, but it's kind of one of those things where, like, Wallace State comes in and fearless, right?
House money.
They got nothing to lose. They made it to the tournament.
But the DeCannon Wickware, 6'7" freshman from Lee, the Wickware Williams is a fantastic kind of big wing matchup.
Yeah. And so is it going to be the puncher's chance guys coming out just swinging and throwing haymakers, and if they start hitting shots, can Lee score enough to keep up with that? Because that's not really their MO. They're more like, hey, we want to bludgeon you and win 58-40.
And Wallace State averaging 81.5 points on the season, 39 from 3. So they got some people who can knock it down. I think that might be a really fun game to end our Sunday night before we hit up the Polo Lounge for dinner. So we'll see you at the Polo Lounge somewhere around midnight.
Sunday night ribs, baby. Let's
Sunday
go.
night ribs. And then we're going to start early Monday morning, 10 a.m. Game 7, Moberly, Connors State. I mean, a complete comparison and contrast between scheduling and things like that. But here they are in the national tournament, 14 seeded Moberly, 19 seeded Connors. I mean, this is going to be a terrific matchup. Seeing Braden Hubbard on the main stage, seeing one of my favorite players, Buddy Hammer Jr. For Connor State, it's going to be a fun game. Moberly has played really well down the stretch, beating Mineral twice, taking Triton, to the edge in River Grove. What are your thoughts on Game 7 breakfast?
I mean, I think Buddy Hammer missed his calling as a left-handed power closer, that can throw that slider off your back heel that just,
He
breaks
feels a
your
little John Rockerish.
right. Yeah. Like just whipping it in there. But I mean, this is kind of one of those games where it's like it's not the fairest thing in the world to Moberly, because if you actually really look at Connors as a team, they wound up where they did because of their non-conference schedule. Evaluating them from a talent standpoint, they are very, very, very talented. I would say they are probably underseeded here, but you almost couldn't seed them higher because of the other things, right? So
Right.
it's just not how it works. So I'm not saying
you don't get seeded on talent alone.
yeah, it's not that a mistake was made. It's just that's kind of how it ended up having to play out. And
Oh, by the way, winner gets Salt Lake,
yeah,
who kind of feels like they have everything, right? They have all of the pieces needed to win a national title. We put two of Salt Lake players on our JUCO Jam All-American team. Xavier Edmonds as well, the big man inside that is just a load, who's just probably skyrocketing. And that brings us to Game 8. David versus Goliath. This is Rocky going into Russia. Hutch versus Salkehatchie, an 11-22 game. This is going to be Monday at noon. I'm sure the Hutch community is going to be out there, probably all hitting Roy's barbecue beforehand, and going straight into Salkehatchie. Can the Salkehatchie have a puncher's chance against the Blue Dragons?
I mean, hey, it's Hutch, man. Anybody's got a puncher's
Anything can happen in Hutch. A lot of magic in that sports arena.
Hutch might have more money invested in their sound system than the entire USC Salkehatchie athletic department combined, right? Like,
don't underestimate those Salkehatchie uniforms, though. Those are some sweet unis.
Those are sweet. And I've been watching Salkehatchie basketball basically since I started doing this, because I ended up being pretty close with one of the players and the coach that was there that now is the head coach at Tallahassee. So I've seen that camera pushed up against the wall as tight as possible just so it can actually see the whole floor like this, because there is so little room. It is such a small building. That 3-point line is, somebody needs to get out the tape measure. I'm not sure if it's regulation because there isn't enough space.
They say it's 7 feet short of being a collegiate floor.
I think that's accurate as well.
That might be generous, though.
Yeah,
That might be generous.
The half court shot does not count the same as it does in other places. You do not win a car if you make that one.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the 3-point lines almost touch at the top. I mean, it's an interesting setup, but they're playing on a regulation floor at the sports arena. If Hutch wins that game, they play Chipola in another Florida-Kansas matchup. All right, so that is breaking down the top 8 round of 24 games. Are you ready? Are you ready to make a Final Four prediction?
Ooh, I'm in. Let's do it.
Before we begin, give me someone seated higher than 8, not named Daytona, that you think can make a Final Four run.
Hallie.
That was quick and powerful. I love that about you.
Very quick. It was very powerful. Instantaneous. Just
if you call this and they make it to the Final Four, do you think we can swing by the Pizza Ranch in Arkansas City? Because I believe it's Arkansas City. I hope I didn't get that wrong. But that Pizza Ranch buffet is the best ad in all of junior college basketball.
Better than Schroeder Graphics?
I mean, Schroeder Graphics did that.
They did do that.
That buffet is undefeated, and it has to be the #1 rated pizza buffet in the country going into this tournament. And I'm sure Donnie Jackson has been there more than once. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I
gonna
look at it
go.
and say if Cali gets through Allegheny, Maryland, obviously tough matchup with Northwest Florida, right? You're gonna have a crazy hard game right away, no matter what in this tournament. But if they can get through them, and presuming that Barton is, the one that makes it through, I like Cowley's chances against a team that they're familiar with,
Right.
that, and now we're talking making it to the Final Four.
Callie's the only team that has beaten Barton this year.
Exactly. Exactly. So, you look at everybody else, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of like, hey, we got to do extra scout here. We don't even know who these guys are. And now the same thing goes for Barton, obviously knowing Cali. But if you got to pick somebody that's kind of on that outside, that top eight, I mean, I know they're number 9, so they're not that far outside of it. But it sets up well for them. I think.
I will pick Jones. I'm gonna go with
Okay.
Jones.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I just have one of those feelings. You know how I love Mississippi Mondays, and they could potentially play South Plains on a Mississippi Monday.
South Plains sneaking through South Plains and then potentially Triton.
And I'm sure this is going to be a soundbite for Coach Hayden Sowers, which we love, friend of the show.
You can reach him at the Nielsen file. Uh,
Now, we got the top 8 seeds that all have a bye. The odds of all 8 winning in the first round slim to none.
yeah.
Who do you have
Oh,
on upset alert? Give me an upset alert special or two.
from the top
Well,
from the top 8 seeds.
I guess we're saying Northwest Florida because of our love for Pizza Ranch in Cali, right? So we have Northwest Florida on upset alert. I guess
Yeah.
I have South Plains on upset alert.
Yep.
Anybody else you want to specifically call out
Just
today?
trying to get a target on my head. I see what's happening here.
How do you feel about Chipola? When they take the floor, there will only be 9 teams left in the national tournament when they take the floor for the first time,
Yeah.
and they potentially would play
Touch.
Hutch on the last game of the night on probably what would be as close to a full crowd as you're going to get at the sports arena.
And you're playing a style of basketball that isn't conducive to scoring. Obviously that Donnie Tyndall defense is tough to deal with, but Hutch is not trying to score 120 like they maybe have in the past. But they can score, and so home court, packed house, if they hit shots, you know, Chipola is going to have a tough time scoring enough to keep up. So they have to get that deep.
Chipola's not going to run away from you, right? You don't have to worry about Chipola putting up 85, I don't think, even though I think they're doing a little bit better job with offensive efficiency. But I think that's a really interesting game as well. All right. You want to do your final four first? You want me to throw my final four out? That
You
way
go first.
I'll get heckled first. All right. I'm going to go with Northwest Florida in my top left quadrant. I'm going to go with Vincennes in the bottom right. We haven't talked about the Trailblazers very much, but I'm not going to bet against Coach Todd Franklin and Michael Osei Bonsu, who I think has a amazing basketball career ahead, but then I think he'll transition to an even more profound NFL career. Top right quadrant, I'm going to go Jones. In the bottom right quadrant, I'm going to go Salt Lake.
Okay.
I'm going to pick Salt Lake to go to the national championship game where they will play Northwest Florida. And I think Northwest Florida does it.
Ooh. Ooh. Man.
But with a shallow roster. With
Yeah.
a real shallow roster.
Real shallow. We're getting a little thinned out over
If they shoot the ball anywhere close to how they did against Eastern Florida, it's lights out for the tournament. Now, they don't always shoot the ball like that, but if
Yeah.
they shoot the ball like that, I think they run the table. There's a good chance now that Northwest Florida loses to Cali in the first round. So this is going to be a really fun game for us as we sit side by side and talk smack.
All right. Remember, you can reach him at the Nielsen file This goes for my picks too. Don't talk to me.
We're going to do it several times. We'll throw different permutations out there, and we'll let Zach edit it up.
All right, my final four. Top left of the bracket. I'm going Cowley. I think the that athleticism, can overcome some of the, if there's some shooting bumps, if there's, whatever, to say, hey man, we're just going to turn to our athletes. I think Cowley sneaks in there in the final four. I'm going to go with Indian Hills in the final four, with a major reasoning for that being that Trevion LeBeau is back. And I think they can go relatively deep at a number of positions. And I think their guard play has come on like
much improved,
like a runaway train here towards the end. Much improved. And you have to have good guard play to win at Hutch. So Indian Hills in the bottom left. In the bottom right, I am you're gonna think I'm nuts, but I'm actually gonna go with Hutch in the bottom right. There's just something about that home crowd. I think the
maybe
match.
they have a little bit of Cinderella going for them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they were a Cam Edwards shot at the end of regulation from not being in the national tournament. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the reality of the situation. If he doesn't hit that shot, they lose to Garden City in the quarters. They're donesy.
You don't want
They're
to
not in the
you don't
tournament.
want to be playing a team that has a chip on their shoulder on their home court when every game is going to have 5,000, people at it. That stylistic matchup with Chipola is going to go one way or the other. Either Donnie's going to hit him with an anvil, or that style is going to play more to Hutch, and then they can get by. And then you got to face Salt Lake, and it's kind of one of those things where, like, you're always going to have a puncher's chance because of how much they shoot the ball. If it's just not falling, for Salt Lake, then that's when things, can get a little tough. So, Hutch in the bottom right, and then the top right. I just think South Plains has too much firepower
Too
for that one.
talented, right? Most talented team in the country.
Yeah, and where Triton, though, the firm, obviously, if they're pouring it in, they're really hard to beat, man. But it is a lot to ask to say that your best shooting performance of the year is going to come in that environment. Can you do it? For sure. But
Right.
that's, if there's a lot of reliance on that, then it can,
I'm interested to see how South Plains plays in Hutch. To me, they're in my mind the biggest question mark in the tournament, because I don't think that they were really engaged the second half of the season.
Yeah.
And I think they're so talented. Maybe they got a little bored, to be honest with you.
Could be. And
And
I wonder if that Midland loss,
little wake up call.
wake up call. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think they're talented enough that they could just run away with it and just bludgeon people and win every game by 20 points and pour it on, knowing that this is our final stretch. This is how we're going to be remembered by.
Yep.
But I'm also concerned about a team that shoots 29% from three. And
sure.
you watch how Odessa played them, that I think gives people a template to kind of slow them down a little bit. And if they go out there the national tournament and have a game where they shoot, 4 for 25 from three, it's going to give the opposition a chance, whether it's Jones or Triton or Trinity Valley. It opens up somebody who may not have superhuman athletic ability like South Plains to kind of even the field a little bit.
Now, I will say, and I thought about that, especially with the, okay, well, here's how you play them. They don't really have anybody on that side of the bracket that they're likely to face that can play like that other than Chipola.
Yeah.
So, now if you wind up in a situation where South Plains and Chipola is in the final four, now you got a problem, because that defense can suffocate you.
I would take Chipola in that matchup.
Yeah. Yeah,
Really.
that's kind of the one team on that side that can really lock up like that. So,
all right, so we got South Plains, Hutch,
yep.
Cali, Indian Hills.
Cali, Indian Hills. Then I'm going to the championship game. I'm looking at South Plains, Cali for the championship game.
Okay, I like that.
with
Callie's been there before.
a Cowley win.
Oh boy,
I
you're
think
trying to get
Cowley.
ownership in the Pizza Ranch.
I think I think Cowley, if they can make it to the Final Four, there is going to be the entire population of that town in the gym. And the other thing too,
The Hutch
that
fans might surround them
they
because of
will.
the Coach Tommy DeSalm, Donnie Jackson relationship. If Hutch is out, Callie becomes the new favored son, right?
The Hutch fans tend to then just pivot to whoever the Jayhawk teams that are left are. And that is just a hostile environment. Um,
So
that
we're both basically saying we think the potential Cali Northwest Florida game is the national championship game
yeah, and
because
a
that's
little
who we both picked for the national champion.
seated further back, and we've talked about all season here on the show that how deep this is, and that you can go back 14, 15, 16 teams and say, well, if they win, I wouldn't be blown away. Like, we're talking about that, but Daytona could be in the Final Four, and I go,
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Connor State could be in the Final Four. Moberly could
yeah.
be in the Final Four. Both of those teams are capable of, beating Salt Lake and beating and matching up well with Chipola. Um, you have a breakout player or two that you're thinking about? Like, man, I think this kid is going to get on the national stage and just really make a name for themselves. I
Well,
assume that if you think Cali wins the national title, you got to think of Corey Thomas or Azante Dallas are going to really make a name for themselves.
for me, I think it's going to be Corey.
Yeah.
Obviously
6'10".
everybody's paying attention to Jeff right now, as they should, but Corey goes out there and pins a few against the backboard and, bangs a three, and then everybody's going to go, wait a second. It a little bit of the Muhammad Wagyu effect,
Yeah.
of Harkham back a few years ago, where all of a sudden, West Virginia jumps in there and all these other teams are like, wait a second, this guy looks like $1 million out there running around at 6'10", 6'11". I think Corey Thomas is absolutely one of those guys because, last year it was the guards, right? It was the Tallahassee guard that just kind of went bananas.
Malachi Davis, who hit everything.
Yep, Malachi hit everything.
The only lefty not in Barton.
Yep, but what Corey does a lot of are things that definitely instantly translate.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know? And so I think that's where coaches will be circling his name, saying like, hey, this isn't like, does this project? The things that he does well definitely project. So
I think Taiwan Simpkins is a guy that if Northwest Florida goes deep,
yep.
and if Chipola goes deep, I think we're going to be hearing a lot about Greedy Williams, and
Which is
then
crazy that that's where we're at now, that somebody at Northwest Florida or somebody at Chipola is super under recruited right now.
right, and then some of the other names that I just think about are you go to South Plains, right, who's very possibly going to win this thing, and the two people that everybody mentions are Jabari McGee and Malik Ewan. So I'm thinking of like who's that next group within there that can go to a Division I school and have a major impact. And for me, that's Jalen Hampton. That really nobody. I think he kind of gets slept on. 6'7". He's averaging 13.4 points a game and 9 rebounds.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not saying he's going to be starting at North Carolina next year, but I think this is a guy who is very interesting at Daytona State. I think Kylan Green is someone who I think is tougher and stronger and super competitive than people realize.
I hope
And
people watch Michael Osei-Bonsu at Vincennes and remember
Robert Whaley,
right.
right?
Well, remember Robert Whaley and how well he has translated to playing the 5 in the Mountain West. But also
Aaron Donald.
also Aaron Donald. Um, my brain is not working, Nick. It played at Corpus Christi. He's at New Mexico now. Was at Western Texas. Um, ah, anyways,
Yes, the guy that rebounds everything.
yeah, 14 rebounds a game at Corpus Christi. Remember those guys where it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, wouldn't you love them to be 6'10"? They also wouldn't be playing for you if he was.
right.
So
Yeah,
So
if you are, not in the top 20, right, that can get those 6'8", 6'9" guys, then you have to be a little creative
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
And what I would say is Michael Osei Bonsu at one of the best programs in the country, super productive for 2 seasons. In the district tournament down in Ina, Illinois, he was as close to unstoppable as possible. He went against Southwest Illinois. He was six, no, excuse me, against John Logan. He was 16 for 18 from the field with 33. Against Wabash Valley, he ended up being quadruple teamed at times and
yep.
was still scoring at an incredible clip. There's going to be somebody who is super happy that they get
And
him.
he's an elite person, which just check that box.
It definitely checks some box. And I think one of the things I will also take away from this tournament, the freshman class in junior college is really, really good.
Yeah, yeah, and that's been a result of this portal thing where the high school kids have nowhere to go. LeBron Thomas should not be playing junior college basketball right now, 5 years ago,
Right.
right? It just is what it is. But now that he is, he's taking full advantage of that. That really is a player that could pop here at Hutch as well because he's a qualifier.
Six
And
three.
he's a 6'3" point guard that makes all the passes.
And
So
then another one who I really loved watching him play last week is Lateef Patrick, 6'1" from Milton, Mass. On Trinidad State, he's averaging 17 a game, shooting 36 from three, 86% from the free throw line. A lot of good freshmen. It's going to be exciting to watch. Brandon, before we close this out, any final thoughts? Any big thoughts for you? I'm just so excited to get to spend a week with you in person.
I mean, final thoughts for me, honestly, are that I fully expect this, and I don't mean this to be cliche or just like, oh, this is what you're supposed to say. I think this could be the best tournament that we've seen since I've been doing this, given the parity from all over the place. Again, you can go all the way back to number 16 at Daytona and say like, yeah, if they're in the Final Four, if they're in the championship game,
No shocker.
doesn't shock me at all. Lee College, if they all of a sudden just start really locking up and whatever, can they make it to the Final Four? 100%. They have the talent to do that. So really kind of all over the place as far as how good these teams are, should just make for some great basketball. And what I really, 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 really hope is all these coaches that are coming out there are going to be watching at home or whatever, realize like, hey, the portal's great. Like, it's fine. It's whatever. You're gonna have lots of misses in the portal, just so you know, because that's what the numbers flesh out. But there is so much talent available in junior college basketball right now that just doesn't have the recruitment that it deserves. And you know what? People watch my Twitter account. I'm sitting there banging out tweets all the time. Hashtag JUCO product. We got four, conference national player or four conference players of the year, former JUCO guys. Dalton's going to be a lottery pick this year. He's SEC player of the year. Those stories exist here, so
You want to win right now? Go get JUCO guys.
yep.
Go get these guys that are helping teams win at the highest level. Guys who win will continue to win. It translates. My closing thought, just a PSA. The games are going to be on ESPN Plus. So if you don't have ESPN Plus, go ahead, sign up for that today.
All the
Games,
games.
except for the national championship game on ESPNU. But Sunday through Thursday, ESPN Plus. Brandon and I will be streaming between games, halftime. Some thoughts, 5 to 10 minutes at a time. You'll get some thoughts with us. We'll give you some live insights. So make sure that you're following us on Twitter and the NJCAA Network. Brandon, really looking forward to seeing you in person and watching the games at Hutch.
See you soon, buddy.
All right, take care.